and welcome back. I've decided to continue with reading the book of Enoch. So there was a little bit left in chapter 17 where I left off last, about 6 months ago, probably longer than that. So I'm going to start and I'm going to read the very end of chapter 16. It'll be chapter 17, section 4. And then I'm just going to go ahead and read for about 15 to 20 minutes. All right, so they raised me up into a certain place where there was the appearance of a burning fire. And when they pleased, they assumed the likeness of men. They carried me to a lofty spot, to a mountain, the top of which reached to heaven. And I beheld the receptacles of light and of thunder at the extremities of this place, where it was deepest. There was a bow of fire and arrows in their quiver, a sword of fire, and every species of lightning. Then they elevated me to a babbling stream, and to a fire in the west, which received all the setting of the sun. I came to a river of fire, which flowed like water, and emptied itself into the great sea westward. I saw every large river until I arrived at the great darkness. I went to where all the flesh migrate, and I beheld the mountains of the gloom which constitutes winter, and the place from which issues the water in every abyss. I also saw the mouths of all the rivers in the world, and the mouths of the deep. Chapter 18. I then surveyed the receptacles of all the winds, perceiving that they contributed to adorn the whole creation, to preserve the foundation of the earth. I surveyed the stone which supports the corners of the earth. I also beheld the four winds which bear up the earth, and the firmament of heaven. And I beheld the winds occurring in exalted sky, arising in the midst of heaven and of earth, and constituting the pillars of heaven. I saw the winds which turned the sky, which caused the orb of the sun and all the stars to set. And over the earth I saw the winds which support the clouds. I saw the paths of the angels. I perceived at the extremities of the earth and the firmament of heaven above it. Then I passed on towards the south, where burnt both day and night 6 mountains formed a glorious stone, 3 towards the east and 3 towards the south. Those which were towards the east were of a variegated stone, one of which was of marguerite, and another of antimony. Those toward the south were of red stone. The middle one reached to heaven like the throne of God, a throne composed of alabaster, the top of which was sapphire. I saw too a blazing fire hanging over all the mountains, and there I saw a place on the other side of an extended territory where the waters were collected. I likewise beheld terrestrial fountains deep in the fiery columns of heaven. And in the columns of heaven I beheld fires which descended without number, but neither on high nor into the deep. Over these fountains also I perceived a place which had neither the firmament of heaven above it, nor the solid ground underneath it. Neither was there water above it, nor anything on wing. But the spot was desolate. And there I beheld 7 stars, like great blazing mountains, and like spirits entreating me. Then the angel said, This place until the consummation of heaven and earth will be the prison of the stars and the hosts of heaven. The stars which roll over fire are those which transgressed the commandment of God before their time arrived. For they came not in their proper season. Therefore, for he offended with them and bound them until the period of the consummation of their crimes in the secret year. Then Uriel said, and this is the next chapter, then Uriel said, Here the angels who cohabitated with women appointed their leaders, and being numerous in appearance made men profane and caused them to err, so that they sacrifice to devils as to gods. For in the great days there shall be a judgment, with which they shall be judged until they are consumed, and their wives also shall be judged, who led astray the angels of heaven, that they might salute them. And I, Enoch, I alone saw the likeness of the end of all things, nor did any human being see it as I saw it. The next chapter is 20. These are the names of the angels who watched. Now, forgive me because these are not always easy, but we'll see. Uriel, one of the holy angels who presides over clamor and terror. Raphael, one of the angels who presides over the spirits of men. Reguel, one of the holy angels who inflicts punishment on the world and the luminaries. Michael, one of the holy angels who presides over human virtue, commands the nations. Serachiel, one of the holy angels who presides over the spirits of the children of men that transgress. And Gabriel, one of the holy angels who presides over, I believe it says Ixat. I'm thinking that means Isaac, because it's really similar to how Isaac is said in Hebrew. Over paradise and over the cherubim. Chapter 21. Then I made a circuit to a place in which nothing was completed. And there I beheld neither the tremendous workmanship of an exalted heaven, nor of an established earth, but a desolate spot prepared and terrific. There too I beheld 7 stars of heaven, bound in together, like great mountains and like a blazing fire. I exclaimed, for what species of crime have they been bound? And why have they been removed to this place? Then Uriel, one of the holy angels who was with me, and who conducted me, answered, Enoch, wherefore dost thou ask? Wherefore reason with thyself, and anxiously inquire? These are those of the stars which have transgressed the commandment of the Most High God, and here are bound, until the infinite number of days of their crimes be completed. From thence I afterwards passed on to another terrific place, where I beheld the operation of a great fire blazing and glittering, in the midst of which there was a division. Columns of fire struggled together to the end of the abyss, and deep was their descent, but neither its measurements nor magnitude was I able to discover, neither could I perceive its origin. Then I exclaimed, how terrible is this place, and how difficult to explore. Uriel, one of the holy angels who was with me, answered and said, Enoch, why art thou alarmed and amazed at this terrific place, at the sight of this place of suffering? This, he said, is a prison for the angels, and here they are kept forever. Chapter 22. For thence I proceeded to another spot, where I saw on the west a great and lofty mountain, a strong rock, and 4 delightful places. Internally it was deep, capacious, and very smooth as if it had been rolled over. It was both deep and dark to behold. Then Raphael, one of the angels who were with me, answered and said, these are the delightful places where the spirits, the souls of the dead, will be collected. From them were they formed, and here will be collected all the souls of the sons of men. These places in which they dwell shall they occupy until the day of judgment, and until their appointed period. Their appointed period will be long, even until the great judgment. I saw the spirits of the sons of men who were dead, and their voices reached to heaven, while they were accusing. Then I inquired of Raphael, an angel who was with me, and said, whose spirit is that, the voice of which reaches heaven to accuse? He answered, saying, this is the spirit of Abel, who was slain by Cain his brother, and who will accuse that brother until his seed be destroyed from the face of the earth, until his seed perish from the seed of the human race. At that time, therefore, I inquired respecting him. I respected the general judgment, saying, why is one separated from another? He answered, 3 separations have been made between the spirits of the dead, and thus have the spirits of the righteous been separated, namely, by a chasm, by water, and by light above it. And in the same way, likewise are sinners separated when they die, and they are buried in the earth, judgment not overtaking them in their lifetime. Here, their souls are separated. Moreover, abundant is their suffering until the time of the great judgment. The castigation and the torment of those who eternally execrate, whose souls are punished and bound there forever. And thus has it been formed, and thus has it been from the beginning of the world. Thus has there exited a separation between the souls of those who utter complaints and of those who watch for their destruction, to slaughter them in the days of sinners. So it's been about 11 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and stop there. Actually, you know what? I'm going to read the rest of this chapter, and then we'll see, because it hasn't been quite as long as I normally read. A receptacle of this sort has been formed for the souls of unrighteous men, and of sinners, of those who have completed crime and associated with impious and pious. Let me start over. A receptacle of this sort has been formed for the souls of unrighteous men and of sinners, of those who have completed crime and associated with impious, whom they resemble. Their souls shall not be annihilated in the day of judgment, neither shall they arise from this place. Then I blessed God, and said, blessed be my Lord, the Lord of glory, and the righteousness, who reigns over all forever and ever. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and stop there, and I will continue with chapter 23. Not shortly after this one. I feel like I should just keep knocking these out, because a lot of people either haven't heard of the book of Enoch, or have been told that it's not canonical, so it shouldn't be believed. But even though Enoch wasn't included in the canon, there are reasons why. I don't know those reasons, because, I'm not all-knowing like our Heavenly Father, but it is good history, and it is a good reference source to use, and it is also referenced in the Bible. So while the people who put our current Bible together have decided that it wasn't useful to be included in the canon, it is useful to know as a reference to how the earth looks, how God works, how the heavens look. There are 3 heavens, and the angels, how they watch over us. They are set over nations. They're set over transgressors. They're set over us, and it lets us know that there is not necessarily more out there, because we already believe that, but there's more to the 66 books that we have in our canon that we can refer to when we're looking into things that we don't understand. So with that, I'm going to sign off and say thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you soon.